So I'm going to show you something about the tarot landing gear that led me to kind of look into how they work a bit more closely. And it's that when I received them, this is how they worked. One goes one way and one goes the other. And so, as you can understand, I found this rather alarming, and so I did a little bit more research, and I found that actually that can happen. These can be reversed. And so basically all I have to do is just change one of these. And you might be inclined to just look at the switch and figure, well, I want the switch to be in this position when it's that way and opposite the other way. But there's actually a behavior that this unit has that's desirable. And it's that if for some reason something goes wrong, it should fail to the down position. And so the way I tested that is I disconnected the power to the receiver. And lo and behold, it stayed in this position. Okay. If I was to put the other position and disconnect the power, that's failsafe. And this is the right way. This one here. This one failed to open. It failed the landing gear, which would be up if it was on the craft. That's not desirable. What we want is this. So I'm going to reverse the polarity of this connector. And these connectors are rather small. Let's see if we can zoom right in. They look a lot like those little battery connectors that they put on those 1S batteries. I'd say in fact they are. And I don't know the proper name, but I might put it in the comments. And so there's two little plastic tabs on there. That's about as far as I can get and get focus for you. But those little plastic tabs retain that wire. And so what you can do is, let's see if I can do this on camera. Bear with me. You can flip this up. And I find that an X-Acto blade like this is really the best tool. I haven't found another tool in my collection that really does as good of a job. I mean, I suppose that a razor blade would do as well, because it'll catch that edge quite nicely. But it's a little bit less wieldy. This is a nice tool because you can rotate it in your hand and you can keep control in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to just fold these tabs up gently. Gently, I insist. And there's no power on this right now, so it's safe to do this, but I'm gonna try to flip this up, and maybe I'll try one at a time. And basically I want to lift that up just enough and be patient and try not to thrash it, because if you bend it or break it off, well, you're screwed. Although, like I just gave you a hint, I think this is the same connector as those little batteries, and you might be able to find one at a hobby shop. Or you can get fancy with a soldering iron. So I've managed to get this underneath there a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to release these wires. And keep track of where they were, okay, because you're going to invert them. So this one was on the left, so I'm going to put on the right. And if you look at it, there's a little notch, there's a little catch there, and the other side it's more the crimp. And the way these work is that little catch is what matters. So I'm going to put it in the other direction. I'm going to invert this one as well. So the polarity is reversed, and that's okay with this because it's just a straight up old school DC motor that's turning it's turning a worm gear, or actually like a screw. Looks like a 4M machine screw in there. That's going back and forth and turning this slider that raises and lowers it. And that's why it's so sturdy too, because it's caught on the screws. It's a very effective way to do this. And so now when I connect this, I'll make sure that those little plastic flaps are in place and everything's happy. Oh, and I should put the connector the right way. Now when I connect this to the control box, oh, and connect power on the receiver as well. They're going to match. So landing gear up, or down, right, in this case, and then to be, I'm flying and the gimbal's exposed. So what happens if that's happening and something goes wrong in this control system? It's going to fail with the gear down, which is the way you want it. So when you set this up, test this first before you put it on your hex or your octo or whatever you're putting this on. Make sure that this is going in the right direction, and you can just reverse the polarity of those. I've actually swapped these both around and it's completely fine, and the controller is okay with that because these are just good old-fashioned DC motors. Okay.